Kashmir today is a name wrapped in politics, protests, and pain. But step back a few centuries, and you'll find a different Kashmir. A land where Sanskrit echoed through the valleys, where temples dotted the landscape, and where saints, scholars, and sages walked freely. This is not hearsay. This is recorded in ancient texts, archaeological sites, and travelogues. Before it became a conflict zone, Kashmir was a cradle of Hindu civilization. This is that forgotten story. The very name Kashmir is believed to come from Kashyap Mira, the lake of sage Kashyap. According to the Nilamata Purana, one of the oldest texts about the valley, sage Kashyap drained a vast lake to create the land we now call Kashmir. The Rajatarangini, written by Kalhana in the 12th century, is the earliest recorded history of Kashmir. Kalhana described a series of Hindu dynasties ruling the valley for over 1,000 years, some dating back to the 3rd century BCE. This wasn't mythology. It was structured governance with cities, taxation, and temples. From the 8th to 12th century, Kashmir was a cultural powerhouse. Philosophers like Abhinavagupta laid the foundation of Kashmiri Shaivism, a deeply nuanced school of Hindu spiritual philosophy that still influences Hindu thought today. It wasn't just faith, it was serious intellectual work. The Sharada Peeth, now in modern-day Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, was a major temple and one of the subcontinent's earliest centers of learning. Pilgrims and scholars came from as far as Bengal and the Deccan to study here. Sanskrit was the dominant language, and art, sculpture, and science were actively cultivated. Under rulers like the Kushans, Buddhism also spread in the region, especially during the reign of Emperor Kanishka. But Kashmir didn't lose its Hindu soul. Instead, Hinduism and Buddhism coexisted for centuries. Temples and stupas stood side by side. It was a period of tolerance, but that balance would not last forever. The turning point came in 1339. Shah Mir, a Muslim noble from Swat, took the throne and established the first Islamic dynasty in Kashmir. What followed was a slow but steady Islamization of the valley. Temples began to be dismantled or repurposed. One of the worst examples was the Martand Sun Temple, an architectural marvel built by King Lalitaditya in the 8th century. According to Jonaraja's chronicle, Sultan Sikandar Butchi Khan, literally destroyer of idols, ordered its destruction in the early 15th century. The temple was partially torn down, but its ruins still stand today, cold, majestic, and silent. Sikandar also banned Hindu rituals, imposed the jizya tax on non-Muslims, and destroyed many shrines. His successor Zainul Abidin took a more tolerant approach, but the damage had already begun. Through centuries of change, one community preserved the old traditions, Kashmiri Pandits. They kept the temples alive. They maintained manuscripts, rituals, and festivals. They were not just priests. They were scholars, poets, and civil servants. But over the centuries, their population shrank under waves of pressure, economic, political, and religious. By the 20th century, they had become a vulnerable minority in their own homeland. The final blow came in 1990. Amid rising militancy and threats, nearly 100,000 Noids, 150,000 Kashmiri Pandits fled the valley. Homes were looted, temples were desecrated. Killings like those of Lasa Kaul and Tika Lal Taplu shocked the nation. Many Pandits left overnight, never to return. Today, a whole generation of them has grown up in exile. This is not about blame, it's about memory. A civilization once flourished here, rich in faith, art, and knowledge. That story must be told, not to stir hate, but to restore balance. To remind the world that Kashmir's identity was not always what it is now. Kashmir was once a Hindu land. That is not propaganda. It is history. and history must never be erased. Like, share, and subscribe to Indic Legacy for more forgotten truths. Let history speak for itself. Don't let silence rewrite it.